The evolution of Devon Larratt's technical arsenal is a story of anatomical problem-solving. He didn't invent moves for the sake of novelty. He systematically developed and refined techniques to address specific challenges on the table, creating a cohesive system of leverage. His primary weapon, the open top roll, was his foundation. This wasn't a static move, but a dynamic, adjustable technique. Devon developed it as a scalable system. He would ideally win with a straight posting top roll, but if met with strong resistance, he learned to open up his angle, dropping his body and shoulder to maintain constant rotational pressure. This ability to transition through various levels of an open top roll allowed him to manage an opponent's power without breaking his own structure, always seeking the most efficient path to the pin. The infamous King's move represents the final layer of this defensive escalation. Devon didn't invent it, but he radically developed it into a calculated, sustainable hold rather than a desperate last resort. His innovation was in understanding the safety parameters. He realized that the closer you stop an opponent to the center and the less stretched out your arm is, the safer you are. His version of the King's move emphasized keeping his arm tighter to his body, relying more on reinforced musculature and tendons than on pure skeletal frame, which made it a much safer, though highly controversial, defensive anchor. The kickback concept is the biomechanical thread that ties his system together. This is a key Larratt innovation in applying force. It describes the synergistic relationship between pronation and riser, even when his wrist is bent back in a defensive posture. He developed the understanding that by maintaining this kickback tension, he could create a situation where he was still applying offensive pressure from a defensive angle. The goal is to achieve a position above the opponent's arm. If the flexion and ulnar deviation of the athlete pressing are greater than the opponent's pronation, it results in total hand control, making it easier to isolate and defeat the opponent's elbow flexors. Furthermore, Devon developed a sophisticated philosophy around climbing, which is the offensive counterpart to his defensive moves. He identified two common mistakes to avoid: overpronating, which sacrifices power and invites a flop press, and attempting to dynamically pronate after the start. Instead, his method involves climbing during the setup, using his frame and body rotation to gain minute positional advantages inch by inch. The mental model is not one of muscling the hand, but of locking in pronation at the setup and then rotating the entire rigid body as a single unit to open the opponent's hand. This concept of static frame pressure is central to how he developed his hand control. The life cycle of these techniques is also part of their story. Devon, along with other elite pullers, demonstrated that no move is permanently unbeatable. He was instrumental in showing the blueprint to counter the King's move itself, by climbing higher on the hand and applying a well-executed press. This constant cycle of innovation and adaptation is what defines the sport at the highest level.